Oh man, let me tell you, the last couple of days I have felt fucking off, man. I have not posted vlogs. I've been at a loss for words. I just posted a story on Instagram this morning talking about there's some days where I feel like I have a lot to give, and then there's those regressive days where I feel like I'm more introspective and I have more that I need to receive, right? And so I just try to be open to, the message of God, listen to my body, get the feedback, and just try to understand what my mind and my body and maybe God are trying to tell me. So, there's the last couple of days have definitely felt like I haven't had much to give in terms of, just energy, but I need to pay attention to something. And so I haven't really posted, and that's okay. Like I was mentioning in various videos, there's seasonality to life. There's different seasons in nature. There's different seasons psychologically, physically, mentally, spiritually. You're going to go through these seasons of progression and growth, and you're going to go through these seasons of regression and maybe decay. Maybe there's something inside of you that no longer belongs. You need to pay attention to, you need to get rid of, or maybe you just need to take hit the brakes for a minute. And believe me, I'm more of an all gas sort of person, but that doesn't mean that I'm not open to the fact that there's some days where you need to hit the brakes and you need to stop. You need to reflect. You need to think. You need to be intelligent with your next steps. You need to plan a little bit, or you maybe just need to be aware and present. And I've definitely felt that the last couple of days here. So been a little bit off. I still did my workouts, still was showing up for my clients. And as of recently, we just had some changes enter our life. The first one being Nagar and I are renting a place out in Fountain Hills. We found this place that kind of fit our interests. We decided not to buy anything right now. Instead, we decided to just rent something. So we found a place. We're signing the leasing agreement this morning actually. So we will be getting into a new place as of this weekend probably. And we're excited about that. Nagar and I have been through many ups and downs in life. We've made a lot of money in short periods of time. We've had points in our life where we've used food stamps to fucking feed ourselves. So there's been many ups and downs, and just kind of similar to the point and the theme of this video today is life is about seasonality, and it's understanding when to pivot or when to just accept that that's the point in your life where you're at right now. You ever had where you go to put your headphones in and it makes that weird little noise like doo-doo-doo, and then you realize one of the motherfuckers is dead? Oh, like how does that happen? I got a fully charged case. One of them's at 100%, and then the right one's at 0. And I'm like, what the fuck? Just like didn't connect in there or something? You ever have that? What a pain in the ass. So I'm waiting for the charge right now in the case. And in the meantime, I gotta listen to all the noises of the jungle in here. Random music, random people making noises, slamming weights. Such is life. All right, just doing a little warm up here. That's feeling good today, friends. All right, so I'm hitting some close grip rows now. So, not close grip rows, close grip pull downs. So close grip pull downs are very similar to like a dumbbell pullover, right? You're going a vertical stress coming above the head, then you're trying to drive through your elbows coming down. I'm actually using a mag grip. There's one attached up there I'm not gonna take down, but it's similar to this one that I've used in other rowing movements. Some have wider bases, some have more narrow bases. I'm gonna have one that has more of a narrow base. Now, there's different types. There's ones that have more of a, what you call like a slightly pronated grip, and there's some that have slightly supinated grip, which basically means your palms are either slightly facing the floor or they're slightly facing up. Now, you can really do either grip. It really just depends on your shoulder's position. It depends on, you know, how much you compensate with your forearms when you pull. I would just try both, see which one feels better. You know, doing a slightly angled in grip or slightly angled out grip. So this one is kind of a little bit more of a neutral grip, which is also an option. But you could try a variation of it, see which one feels better. But the idea with this is you're driving straight through the elbows, you're pulling down in front of you, and you're trying to engage and flare your lats. So let me show you what that looks like. Oh.
He's taking off like I'm here with your program. It's like we rotate. So doing 3 months of guys and I've been taking off. It's so nice to take from them. Whistle. When do they have when you're traveling, do they have to leave on like Monday or Tuesday? Right.
Okay, so with that movement just now, you've probably seen that I put my arm behind my back like this. And what that does is it helps open up the shoulder frame. And I want you to think about, you know, when you see like a bodybuilder on stage and they're doing their lat spread, they're putting their hands behind their back, right? That's going to help actually open up and splay the lats. So what I was doing is I was kind of facilitating my shoulder frame, putting one arm behind my back and also making sure I'm pushing my lower back inward so I'm not rounding forward like this to keep a nice straight posture for better leverage. And then I'm also taking that elbow and I'm driving it backwards to keep my chest up from folding in, right? So that helps me kind of stabilize myself. Because remember, whenever you're doing isolation, the key is stability, right? If you're not stable, you're going to be doing this like ballistic movement with your joints, which means you're trying to stabilize something and there's some shakiness to it. And if there's any type of instability, right, you're going to take away isolation because you're focusing on other support groups to help try to control that weight, okay? So what I'm trying to do is find the best way to stabilize. And that has to do based on intuition and feeling, but also basic mechanics. So I'm trying to stay upright, keep my shoulders back, and then only stretch from my lats. And putting my hand behind my back allows me to do all of those things. So, and as you can see, it helped flare my whole back out. So give that a shot. Any type of back movement too, you don't want to just keep doing fixed grip movements. People do a lot of lat pull downs, a lot of barbell rows, and those things are good as compound movements to kind of help stimulate the back, wake it up a little bit. However, when you want to focus on isolation, you want to do independent arms, okay? Because the reason being is your shoulders generally aren't symmetrical. So you want to make sure you get even distribution on each side. And if you're pulling more with one side when you have a fixed grip, you're going to get like a lack of development. You're going to get some asymmetry. So what you want to do instead is focus on individual grips. At least add them in. I wouldn't say like instead of. I think you should do both, but you want to add them in regardless, okay? So I'm going to do a couple more sets of some single arm rows here, seated, and then we're going to jump over to some dumbbell work, probably do some pullovers, and then do some upper back work. Let's see where that takes me. All right, I'm going to do something you probably haven't seen before. It's called a rack pull, but I'm doing them with dumbbells. So what this is going to do is actually train more of my lower lats, okay? That sweep towards the bottom that kind of rounds the lats in that a lot of people neglect. So how you do that exactly is going to be grabbing some sort of dumbbell or either a barbell up front, and you're doing like a slight hinging motion, but what you're trying to do is get some extension from the shoulders, like a protraction, and then lean back into a pull like this to really drive it to it. So the way I try to teach this is if you were to take like a long pull and you were to push it against your lap as hard as you can, you're going to feel your lats engage. Like even if you were to put your hand on like a countertop or like a bench in front of you and drive downward, you'll feel that lat engage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some dumbbells and I'm going to actually go into that extension motion, and I'm actually going to get a nice contraction in my lower lats. So let me show you what that looks like. Grab me some dumbbells here. Okay. All right. Let me change that angle just a wee bit here. Okay. And now you'll be able to see this extension take place in my back. Okay. All right, so grab onto these. Lean it forward just a little bit, opening the lats, and go to a pinch. Oh. 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 Ah. Oh. 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 All right, so a couple of things here. Okay, so what makes that movement so difficult is it's not like a lower back extension, right? I'm not simply trying to just lean backwards. Okay, I'm not trying to just lean backwards, right? What I'm actually trying to do is trying to bring my shoulder blades together, but not up into a pinch of my traps, down real low. So what I'm trying to think is like my midpoint of my back, I'm trying to touch my elbows together while keeping my hands kind of fixed, okay? I'm not trying to get an entire pinch. I'm not trying to retract, right? I'm not trying to get a complete pinch in my shoulder blades. I'm trying to pull my arms to my sides and get like a lower pinch. Like I'm driving my chest through, just like that. And that is what's ultimately going to contract those lower lats that people neglect. Now, it'll add a lot of fucking thickness. And if you do these right, that shit will be rocked, okay? So give that a shot and let me know what you think. It's definitely going to be something that's going to take some time to learn. Because you got to keep a rigidness in your arms and learn to move just from just the shoulder, right? Drive backwards into a squeeze. You can't just move your hands, because that you'll feel a little bit maybe too much stress in your traps and in the rhomboids, which is muscles in between your shoulder blades. And that's not what we're trying to target with this. We're trying to get like a nice slow rolling motion back and pinch the lower lats there. So give that a shot. Let me know what you think. Okay. This one seems to be not making any noise, at least yet. Let's see. Okay, so I just had to switch treadmills. Well, hello, friends. The last couple of days for me have been strange, to say the least. Been in a strange mental headspace. I feel like, I don't know, maybe God was making me hit the e-brake or something. Maybe I wasn't paying attention to something in my life. And it's funny because I give clients advice on this all the time. Like, when you're an all gas sort of person, you can sometimes hit some speed bumps, right? And when you hit those speed bumps, it can sometimes throw you off kilter. And I felt like the last couple of days have been that for me. I haven't really been able to pinpoint what it was, but there's been a lot of changes manifesting in my life as of recently. I mean, I've gotten about 4 offers to do some sales on the side for some regenerative medicine clinics. People have been approaching me and asking me to do that. And I've been saying that I've been wanting to get into that industry because I see the utility long-term of people having some regenerative medicine inside of their life, because you're chronically being poisoned and you need to do something to help you get you out of that health deficit. And regenerative medicine can be a great avenue for that. Anyway, I don't want to get into a tangent for that, but the last couple of days, I feel like have been all over the place. Opportunities have been coming in. I've been second guessing a lot of things. And, you know, I think when I'm coaching in this setting, when people are having these sort of life, we'll say, speed bumps, I don't know how else to put them as. Maybe it's trying to make you reflect. Maybe God's trying to talk to you and say, hey, listen, maybe you're not paying attention to something. Or maybe you're paying too much attention to one thing. And that could also be the case. And I've been literally go for like the past 8 months. I've been all fucking gas. And I don't think I've been present. And I think what happens is when you get grounded, like really grounded, like forcefully grounded, not selectively grounded, like I was the last couple days, you just feel uneasy. It feels like you need to stop. You need to think, And you need to ask yourself, like, am I taking the inventory mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, or am I disregarding it? And I feel like I've been so focused on very particular avenues in my life that I may have pushed off other things. So this may be something you're experiencing as well. If you feel this chronic unease, if you feel like there's something residually just kind of lingering that you're not giving enough attention to, and maybe God, maybe it's your body, maybe it's your mind, maybe it's external circumstances, maybe it's opportunities, maybe there's some things in your life that are just impediments to your forward progress, and it feels like you're kind of forcefully grounded. I encourage you to spend that time in reflection, because we need those days, right? It's just like in life, there's seasonality to nature. You know, you got 4 seasons, and if it's a winter, you can't complain that it's not summer. That doesn't really help you. Instead, you got to learn to find the beauty in the winter. You got to find the beauty in the hibernation, in the deep sense of self-reflection, in the shedding of maybe what needs to go in your life, so you can make room for the spring and you can plant new things. And preparing for the winters, you know, sometimes it's very difficult for people because they're coming out of that summer where they're just maybe hauling ass, they're hustling, they're feeling great, you know, or maybe they're just in a good social environment. Maybe they're pursuing something. Maybe they just generally feel healthier because they're more active. Whatever the case may be, you start to hit to the fall season and you feel this regression. You know, and nature reflects that too. As the weather changes, as the trees and vegetation change, as the animals start to change their habits and behaviors, we are animals as well. And we will most certainly feel that transition. And sometimes we try to push it off and think, you know, things need to be summer all the time. Things need to be forward progression all the time. Things need to be constantly moving in a direction that we want it to all the time. Well, that's just not the way nature works. That's not the way reality works. If everything was the same, then everything would be the same, which means there'd be no variance, which means there would be no good times because they would all be the same. There's nothing to contrast it with. And that can sometimes be an unsettling thought for people, because we think that we just want to be happy all the time, right? But I encourage you to think happiness is when you're not thinking about it. So you may be happy and may not know it. Maybe you're just not experiencing joy right now, or satisfaction, or lust, whatever you're equating to happiness. Anyway, you can't be always progressing. You can't be always moving forward. You literally have to rest, right? Just like the sun has to go down, you have to go to bed at night, right? You have to learn to go through these periods of self-reflection and regression to kill off maybe some of the habits that no longer serve you, or maybe you're transitioning in your life to where something better needs to make space by getting rid of what's there currently. And it can feel painful, right? It's basically, it feels like, you know, you're ripping off your eyelashes or something, you know, you're shedding your skin. And that could be very difficult for some people because they want to hold on to it, you know? They don't want to let go. So the past couple of days, I've been reflecting a lot, searching for something. My active mind starts to gravitate. Am I bored? You know, I'm restless. I don't know what it is that I want exactly, but maybe that's because I already have it. And I encourage you to think the same. It's one of my favorite quotes. You don't know what you want? It's because you already have it. And maybe you just haven't adjusted to the seasonality change that's taking place internally and externally in your world. And that could be a big wake up for some people. Because sometimes that seasonality change comes very sharply, very abruptly, without notice. And that's because you've been so focused on one thing that you haven't realized that everything around you has changed and adjusted. Time will keep moving forward perpetually. You don't have a choice. So You need to focus on where you're at in your life right now and what's currently happening around you, and learn how to pivot and make decisions and develop your psychology around those circumstances. Because you can have a rigid system of values, and I talk about this a lot, have goals, have an aim. But here's the thing is, there's different stages to that aim. There's planning phases, there's regression phases, there's progression phases. There's times where you need to think about the big picture and maybe make pivots, make changes. Maybe there's time you need to change things, right? Rip out things that are interfering with that progress. And the only way that you can do that is if you stop and reflect for a moment, because some of those things may not be so apparent. Maybe you need to hit the gas and you're not, so you feel anxiety. And I encourage you to think about anxiety in a different way as a driver, as a motivator. It's not a bad thing. It's you're holding on to energy that needs to be released. There's something you know that you need to do that you're avoiding. And depression can be the same way. Anxiety means you need to take action. Depression means you need to consider. There's something you're not paying attention to. You're at a stoplight right now and you're getting restless and frustrated. I like to think about it as depression is you're at a stoplight. There's something controlling you from moving forward, and it doesn't want you to yet because you don't need to. You need to stop, you need to think, you need to reflect. But anxiety is a stop sign. You need to stop momentarily, but then you need to go. And some people aren't hitting the gas. They still have their foot on the brake, and they're like, why the fuck do I feel this way? Well, there's a bunch of people behind you hitting their horn. There's a bunch of signals inside of your brain and in your mind that's saying, go, go, go. What are you doing? Go, faster. What are we waiting for? Come on, let's move. Let's make some progress. You already know what you need to do. Why aren't you doing it? And they're like, why am I anxious? Because you're sitting at a stop sign right now with your foot on the brake, and you've been there for 15 minutes and everybody's getting restless behind you. That's what's going on internally. So, something to consider. There's seasonality to life. And I've been listening to Jim Rohn for the past couple of days, and he had a lot of good points. And one of those things where he was talking to somebody, and this guy says, I own a business, take care of my family, I have employees, living a pretty good life. And he goes, but I take home $50,000 a year. Isn't that enough? And he says, if it's your best. Tell me that doesn't hit home, right? If it's your best, it's enough. But if it's not your best, then we call you a loser. Not in terms of facetiously insulting you, but in terms of you're not even giving your best efforts. So therefore, you're losing the game, which means you have the capacity to do more, but you're choosing not to because something's in your way, a faulty philosophy, a limiting belief, inaction, improper planning. Maybe you're in the wrong environment. And kind of leads me, one of my favorite stories that really changed the course of my life. At one point I was working inside of someone else's gym making about $19,000 a year. If I would have told myself 3 years from now I'd make that, double that in a month, I would have been fucking mind blown, right? However, $19,000 a year. It's about 7-8 years ago. And I just remember I was single at the time. I separated from my ex I was living with. And I had no idea the direction my life was going to take. I tried to go into med school, and I was taking Adderall. I went through ups and downs, lost 100 pounds of muscle, thought I had WPW, because every time I stood up, I'd lose my vision for 30 seconds. And they put me on a heart rate monitor for 24 hours. Safe to say it wasn't any of those things. My testosterone levels were low due to the fact that I used performance enhancers in bodybuilding at points in my life. And it tanked my testosterone levels. I lost 100 pounds of muscle. I was taking an amphetamine that was essentially meth, Adderall, right? To try to force myself to go to school and conventional education, to constrain my mind to focus on singular subjects I found no relevance in, because I thought that was a path that I needed to go in. And all my talents and intellect was going to waste because I wasn't pursuing higher education. And then I heard this story that changed my entire life. And the story was this. There's a baby camel and a mother camel. And one day, the baby camel looks up to the mother camel with a lot of curiosity in his eyes and says, "Mom, why do we have long legs and hoofs?" And she said, "Well, son, we have long legs and hoofs because the desert is a very sandy place. And the long legs and hoofs help us walk across the sand." And he said, "Okay, but why do we have humps on our back? Why do we have those?" And she said, "Well, son, the humps on our back help us store water because the desert is a very hot place." He said, "Okay, well, but what about the long eyelashes? Why do we have those?" And she said, "Well, son, we have long eyelashes because the desert also gets very windy and it keeps the sand out of our eyes." And he says, "Well, okay, that makes sense. So we have long legs and hoofs, we have humps on our back, and we have long eyelashes for the desert. Then why do we live in the zoo?" You know, when I say that story today, I still feel its meaning very deeply in my soul. Because it taught me about positional awareness. Are your gifts in the right environment? Are your gifts in the right environment? Maybe they're not. That's why it makes no sense. That's why everything seems like it's working against the grain of your character. That's why it feels like you're underutilized. That's why it feels like you're making no progress. You're suited for a different terrain, a different environment. Maybe you're a camel in the zoo right now, and you're wondering why it's snowing. Something to consider for you, my friend. Are you in the right environment? And when I was making that $19,000 a year at the gym, and I met my wife at one point, and she's seen my social skills, my ability to present to a group, my ability to teach and educate and mentor and coach, and the knowledge base that I had inside this industry, she said, "What are you doing here?" Kind of gets me emotional thinking about it. Because I was at a point like that, and maybe you're at that point too, where I thought I could do more, but I didn't have anybody telling me that. I had nobody looking me in the face and telling me, maybe you're meant for more. What are you doing here? Why are you wasting your life? Why are you taking away your gifts from other people and from the world? And it struck me like lightning. Positional awareness is everything. Are you in the right environment? Because if you're not going to thrive. If anything, if we put a more exaggerated example, maybe you're lying in the ocean. You're like, why the fuck is this so hard? Why am I getting nowhere? You should be grazing the savannah, my friend. The fuck are you in the water for? I encourage you, please, if there's one thing you get from this, from the bottom of my heart, question your environment. Take a ruthlessly objective view of yourself and ask yourself, are you in the right place, my friend? Are you in the right place? Because if you're not, you need to change that. That will certainly be your downfall. And you'll wonder why you're swimming against the current and your life's so hard. It's like, friend, you're not even going in the right direction. Use the wind to your advantage. Use the current to your advantage. Go with the flow. Ride the wave. Go with the natural grain of your character and personality. Position yourself into the right environment. You see, I was spending all my time around people with middle-class mindsets, and I was born with a wealthy one. And by wealth, I don't mean money. By wealth, I mean abundance. I mean opportunity. I mean this intense sense of progression and self-growth, this natural curiosity, this willingness to learn. And if you possess that, and you're in an environment that's stagnant, if you're in an environment that has no ladder or growth potential, I need to ask you a question. Are you doing a job for money? You need to ask yourself when you go in, not what you can make, but what you can become. Positional awareness is your friend, but it can also be your enemy. If you are not in the right environment, and you can't see that, or you choose to ignore it because you think you just need to survive, you have a scarce mindset. Do not fall into that trap. You know, I went home back in October, and I was talking to some people in my family because one of my family members passed away, somebody who was very dear to me, played a significant role in my development as a man. And talking to everybody, talked to a few people, and they said, yeah, I recently got a new job. I'm making good money. And I was like, oh yeah, what is that? They said I'm making $20 an hour. And my heart sank because I realized in that moment, you know, maybe if it's their best, it's enough. But that's not the atmosphere of people I want to be around. I want the people that challenge me and put financial goals in front of me that intimidate the fuck out of me. What's going to challenge you to be better? Set a goal that's so fucking scary that every single day you try to accomplish it. You're fucking shook because it's going to challenge you. If you don't feel challenged by the goals you set, they're too small. They're going to make you bored. That will not make you grow. So look, I don't have a lot of views on my videos, and that's okay. But if there's one person out there that's watching this right now, please listen. You need to identify enough self-awareness to understand your position and environment, your positional awareness. To ask yourself, are your gifts in the right environment, or are you a camel in the zoo? And if you are, it's no one's responsibility except yours to fix that. Then no one's coming to help you. Words can encourage and inspire, but they won't make you take action. You can't think your way through doing. You have to execute. You have to bet on yourself, and you have to do stuff that scares the living shit out of you, because it's the only way to grow. And I encourage you, if fear is stopping you right now, I want you to think about a time in your life when you were scared. Maybe you rode a roller coaster. Maybe you did some cliff jumping into some water. Maybe you just started a new job that you didn't know if you could handle. Whatever the case is, you've experienced something that's brought you fear in your life at some point. And when you've accomplished that, I want you to ask yourself and think back, what happened when the fear was over? What did you feel? What did you feel? Relief, joy, satisfaction, dopamine? Sounds like positive feelings to me. When you reach the boundary of your character and you hit that door, you're contained in these four walls, you hit that door. Beyond that door is scary because you don't know what's behind it. It's not predictable. I encourage you to open it though, because you may think there's just scary things behind that. But maybe there's not. Maybe that's just a boundary of what you know and what you're familiar with. And when you open that door, who knows what you're going to find? That's the exciting part about life, because if you knew everything that was going to happen to you would be a prison sentence. In 3 months' time, I'm going to get injured. In 2 months' time, or 2 years' time, maybe I have a financial fallout. In 4 years, maybe I get married. You know, who knows? If you knew the timeline of your life, it would be a prison sentence. You'd be anticipating and waiting, and that would be painful. The beautiful thing about life is you don't know what's going to happen, and you have unlimited possibilities sitting in front of you. So when you reach the boundary of your character and you hit that door, I encourage you to open it. All right, friends, that's going to be it for me today. I want to thank you for watching. If you made it to the end of this video, I appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, please do that. Go ahead and hit the like button down below for me. Leave me some comments. Do you guys enjoy the coaching content? Do you like the workout videos? Do you want more nutrition stuff? Let me know. Give me some feedback, you know? Because at the end of the day, I'm making this for you, not me. I want to spread my influence and be able to help people that don't have the opportunity to have these intimate conversations with me in person. I want to coach you. So let me know how. That'll be it, friends. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.